Give it up for the RZA, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm limited because I know we only got so much time, but I'm just curious when you watch this movie, knowing how much time you put into it. You started writing around 2012, 2013, and you come so far since then, and it takes that long sometimes to finish what I consider to be a masterpiece. But I found myself applying in this movie, bro, and I haven't applied it in a movie in a long time. But when you watch this movie, what are some of the emotions you feel?
Of course, yeah. But every time I watch it, as an artist, I appreciate all the effort and all the talent put into it. And what I mean by all the talent, of course, those nice shit. Anyway, all the talent from all the actors, my crew, my DP. So me, when I watch it, I see it technical, but I also could watch it 100 times and still feel uncomfortable. I usually ask the audience this question first. Did this film make you feel uncomfortable at all?
Yeah.
And sometimes, life is uncomfortable. This is, cinema. But I can watch it 100 times and I still feel uncomfortable. I watched the first scene with character Lonnie and watch her go through the slow. And anything that I've known today is just turns out to be tragic. And I must have watched that scene even ahead and probably seen it 500 to 1,000 times. But it still makes me uncomfortable. And I told Isaiah the hell, Isaiah, you entertain? Isaiah! I was lucky to get him, and when I saw him, when I knew his talent, I saw him. I said, "Yo, when you open this film, you want to feel it because you can feel his beauty, his energy, and then to see it get smothered, just for profit." I'm never comfortable watching that, and I see it so still. Every time I still get a little bit lost.
Yeah, absolutely. When I think of this film and I'm watching Unique. By the way, Unique is a very unique character. I couldn't help but be in current times, right? When you look at what's going on in the world, there's a lot of unrest right now. You think about wars happening right now. You think about the unrest that ICE is causing here in LA and other places. There's a lot of reasons for different communities to feel ostracized or betrayed in many ways by this country, in my opinion. But even under all of those circumstances, Unique's character still has faith in his country, right? He's still believed in the places where he came from. He's very patriotic, right? Why is that important for you to write this into this character?
Well, I'm patriotic. I believe that if what was written when this country was founded 250 years ago, where it says it's self-evident. When something is self-evident, it don't need to be reproven or reinterpreted. You know what I mean? And so for me, I have faith in America, and I knew that character would. He served in the military. He took a vow to protect and defend the Constitution and to protect and defend for his kids the flag of the United States. And he had a group of people that was desecrating that flag and using it for their own intentions and not for the intentions of what it was constituted to be. When you think about a declaration of independence, that means you declared something. And it took men from all over the country to make that declaration. And it was lawyers, artisans, people that held patents and that was building things. And when you think about our revolution, the revolution was to break from tyranny. You know what I mean? He said the Boston Tea Party, I don't want to get too history, but just to answer the question, the Boston Tea Party was basically no taxation without representation. And yet, our characters in this film, he said, paying taxes don't give you no rights, nigga. And then we got to think about that. You know, he said that to him. Sometimes we all feel that way, that we pay our taxes, we paying for a service, and yet we're not getting the service we paid for. But Unique believe that regardless of who's running it or what the power is, he's going to stand on his word that he gave to that flag. And so I know it was important for him to have to go up in that room and fuck those motherfuckers up.
Yeah.
Put some blood on that flag, and he was like, oh, let me wipe this shit off. So we kind of shit. And go back to kicking some more ass.
Fist or it could get a bit or go back to those days and the fact that you two men going back and forth about kung fu movies. Who knew the most about kung fu movies, right? I'm curious to have him as the mentor. How has his mentorship changed since back in those days to now?
I mean, now, you know, I'm on autopilot, and you know, when I had an idea for this, you know, I just told him about the idea. I didn't have to like get the script approved or anything. I said I got something I feel really powerful about. It was with my wife Tamani that was my second validation. When she put it, I knew I was good because she's a hard critic on the work. And with him, he told me there's a kind of my sin and said, I added the Vista, it's there. But he said, no, he said the student has become a master. You know, he appreciated and so paying homage to him and those who have educated me, you know, this film in a way exists in his cinematic world. That's why you see the red after, you see the rest, you see the briefcase, and it opens the book and the light hits them. So it's all in that cinematic world. And so as someone who respects somebody who enlightened my mind, because when you go back to the Kill Bill days, I didn't know shit about the director. And he invited me to the set to study him. And I flew to China, sat there with a fucking notepad, and was there for 3 weeks just writing and writing. And that became my college course. When I was there, they don't just say shit, you know. If you watch this shit, niggas said, why this shit is fucking the best movie in the fucking scene is. It's like,
everybody has something that they reference, whether it's the grindhouse era or making new movies, exploitation movies, kung fu movies. All of these things are areas that you've been inspired by, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to call myself a hip-hop director in this definition. Hip-hop was known for looking through crates of records and finding records to sell and make our beats. Well, I knew that's the philosophy to tell my story. My story is for me, but the way that I want to tell it, it's like music. When you write a song, you can sing it a cappella, you can sing it over acoustic guitar, piano, bass and drum, MPC sampling. And so with film, for me, I could tell that story. I could have put that I could have put it back 100 years if I wanted. I could put it up 100 years if I wanted. And then taking ideas from this Kurosawa, Jim Jones, Tarantino, Sam Peckinpah, Sergio Leone, this Alfred Hitchcock. It has some Hitchcock in there too, you know what I mean? So from all those different techniques and different films, I'm able to use those as my instruments to tell the story. And so, whereas you could look and say, wow, that shot, I was talking to a guy earlier, every time you saw that big line of chalk,
Yeah.
and I put the camera the way John Carpenter put the camera in Christine. You say that when the chalk comes, you feel some type of horror. It's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's dope, man. I was thinking Warriors too. Yeah, Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Warriors. There's a lot of symbolism in the movie. We can't go over all of it, but I just give my interpretations. But the scene in the church, right? And I want to say, it might have been Malcolm X who said the most segregated day in this country is Sundays. Right? And I'm talking about that when I was looking at the hypocrisy that sometimes we can see in many systems, including religion. Was that on purpose to show everybody in that community on church for righteous reasons? But we all know that outside of that church, there was unrighteous, unholiness taking place in the community.
Yeah, I mean, like the character said, people in this town, they don't skip church on Sunday. You know, and that reflects life. And that was a conscious intention. And look, to be quite honest, it was also a big separation in that church. You know what I mean? Well, who sat on this side, who sat on that side. It was the characters, in my opinion, of what I tried to do was show generations as well. So the Sherman generation was one way, but the involved generation is not that way. You know what I mean? They are really cool with the vibe, and she pulled Marvin Gaye. You know what I mean? She already was up with it, up on it. And so that's what happens. Sometimes we get caught into our old generation. You know, the actor who plays Jimmy, Harry Goodwins, he said something to me as he developed his character. He said that the character he's playing has been taught all these lies from his mother and father, all that 19, 30, 40, 50, 60 shit. And so he doesn't think for himself. He believes the stereotypes that they taught him. So his whole speech at the end is from what he heard from his parents. And so he didn't snap out of it. And I thought that was just far away for him to play the character, because at the end of the day, sometimes we're stuck in the past. We're stuck, stuck in the 90s, stuck in the 80s, stuck in the 2000s. But the time is always now. And I think that Tala and Evita and Nancy, he were already up to date. It was already, yeah.
By the way, Harry, you did a great job, man. I know that's not an easy role to play.
Yeah.
Excellent job. I mentioned this earlier, but now when I see De Niro, Scorsese, or I see Spidey, Denzel Washington, or most recently Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, I see that kind of legacy developing for you and Shanae Moore. Can y'all see that? Talk to me about your relationship and the trust you gained over the years.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a fan of his work. I saw Dope. Before I saw the Good Maniac, I produced it. I saw early cut of it, and I was like, oh, this shit is fire. And then I saw him play Shaolin Fantastic on the Get Down. And I was like, this fucking kid is on fire, yeah. And I actually meet him, and the agent allowed me to meet him. And I love Charles maybe 19 at the time or whatever. But point being made, I think he's a special talent. And I trust that if I took the product or put the story in front of him, he's going to translate it. And he can speak for himself, but I think that he's going to speak as well. Because this is not an easy character to take on. But I think he's going to speak, and this trust that we have built over 3 projects, we can continue it. If you're down to continue, bro, right? It'll be an honor and a privilege to continue to create with him.
I hope so, man. You guys got good chemistry, so I keep saluting you. I watched that young man since early on, and you just your trajectory has been amazing. So salute to you. And I say that for you too, RZA. From when we first started playing Protection Act back in the day, my partner Keith Tech and I, and with all the different various projects that you worked on as an author, as a music producer, as a film producer, your evolution and your trajectory has been extremely admirable. Where do you see yourself now in your process of evolution? I'm curious.
I don't know, but I love cinema. And I think that through cinema, all the, I like to give myself no self-praise, but all the talents that I have, I think cinema is the best outlet for me. That's all. So, in all reality, my art nowadays is kind of more a way of contributing and giving. I've been blessed to have economic success through my music and all that. So when I go and create, I am treating it from a pure artist standpoint. You know what I mean? And as long as if you guys like and support it, I'll continue to create it. I can guarantee you that.
Woo! Yeah.
I was on the phone talking about, like how can we bring attention to this movie, how can we contribute to it? And one of the things that just said is, man, you guys come out and do this tonight. And I'm going to go to the mortgage show with Carl Morgan, right? I have a feeling I'm still going to happen or something. I'm trying to do a couple of questions. And the fact that 36 Cinema, the idea of writing, producing, directing, and now distributing your own films, how did that come to be? And then also EP with your wife and make it a family thing.
What thought behind my wife, my partner? Easy. No, when I first started this film, though, I gotta make sure I went and got my brother Paul Hall. Paul Hall is a veteran producer, produced many classics for us, and really helped develop John Singleton's career. And we had done a film together called Love Beats Rhyme. So the first person after my wife, because most of my wife was like, you good, go for it. I went and talked to Paul, and I needed someone that could navigate through. And once we knew what we were doing and we created this product, we was like, we can't wait for the system, not the system, because the system is very good today, but we can't wait for the system and the time that it takes to go over these hurdles and get this product created. And so after we created it, we also realized that, wow, there's another system to get it out to people. And that, sometimes we can sit for 2, 3, 4 years before we come out. I didn't want that for this film. I wanted to share it with the people, and so we decided to start a distribution company so that not only our product could come out, but there's other artists and talents that don't need to go through the 30-shot program to get your product out. There's a 10 step now, okay? It ain't overnight. But if we could mitigate that and make sure that you have some creative energy that you can really tell your story, not so much policing by the studio system, which have their reasons for doing that, not so much making it but it's not going to the movie theaters. I made movies for the movie theaters, okay? We made it for the movie theaters, and so really since December wants to be an outlet to help others get those films to the movie theaters, you know what I mean? So we're on a mission. Tomorrow.
All right. Yeah, there's a keep looking at me. I'm kidding, man. I'm looking at we can do that. Okay. You know, we get to varieties. All right. The speech about preparation, right, I thought was extremely awesome that he said when he started talking about preparation and we watched the process of preparation. And I couldn't help but think that while I was watching Unique, I'm also watching RZA, you know, probably in your, you know, in your processes throughout the years. What has sparked you to write that whole part about preparation, and how do you utilize preparation in your own life?
Well, I think preparation is one of the most tiring things that we can do. I don't care that, you know, I cook it all, but I fucking prepare the shit first. You know what I mean? Get it all ready. My wife is my sous chef, you know what I mean? He's trying to figure out, we eat that shit, chop up, lay up, and all that shit. So preparation is everything. But as a people, preparation becomes even more important. A lot of young people are not prepared to face the world. We don't get it from school. Sometimes we don't get it all. We don't have the patience to give ourselves the time to prepare. So that particular part of our preparation, if you don't take nothing from this film, please take that piece of wisdom, because as that minister said, the 10 Commandments tell you what you shall not do. But preparation is what you shall do. And so we gotta do that, folks. I love that.
Yeah, it is.
Woo!
You know, as a black man sitting watching this, I will admit I was, oh man, I was the greatest I see that man. We won. I don't know, man. I know a lot of y'all can go ahead and it's okay if you feel the same way I'm doing, man. You should, you know, talk about it. But you know, win, man. Unique's voice, for those who may not know, represents a lot of our voices, right? Who came up with a certain time and place. And we never really get to hear, you know, to that depth, our voice being presented or represented on the big screen, small screen, or otherwise. And it was really important for Unique to let people know that as a black man, there's much more to us than our bodies, what we do as entertainers, and how he contributed to this country. That was important for you to put in there.
True. Yeah, of course. I think, yeah, you struggle with time on this film, and you struggle with time, you know, cut, right? And that last speech, I think it's about 6 minutes, bro. So that's a lot of time for dialogue. And so we almost chunk it more for time. And then when I saw the truncated cut, I was like, nah, it doesn't feel right. And so we put back more of the dialogue, and part of that dialogue that was cut at one point was those lines. And I said, well, those lines are important. Even if the motherfucker died off because of the long dialogue, the motherfucker was still weak. Hear this shit, you know. So it was important. And I think it was important to both sides of the table. Let me just say this out loud. Because this film came out of me like a song I couldn't control. It was not like I was like, I'm gonna write this shit. It was like I was writing this other shit. It got stuck. And to go back to this, which I started, 13 years ago, and I had about 40 pages, and I was like, let me just add a couple of pages to this, and it just came out like water. And so, to me, this art was made, it needed to be what it is. But again, I want to say that good and evil is always a struggle. Most of the time, the good and evil are not in that package. So by having it in that package, though, we, as audience members, so always identify, like, do you want to be on the middle side or on the evil side? And in this particular case, what Unique said was good. And so I'm going to do mine or white or black, Hispanic, male or female. If it's good, we should all accept it good. And that's what we want my attention is.
Stand up and say your name.
Christian. How's it going? Great movie, by the way. From so from the first draft of your script, how does it differ? What significant changes were done from what actually ended up on the screen from the first draft?
We cut out maybe about 10 pages. The honest 10 pages that was kind of really more political in nature. Not political for positive reasons. Like there's a scene when the mother and the father comes home after you find that guy gapped in the dumpster. There's a scene after that was a dialogue scene. And the mother's like, I'm tired of going to work and seeing all these young black men with these toe tags on. And then the father said, oh, honey, you're the drug dealer. And so, yeah, he's still a part of our community. And so, then the daughter comes in and says, we gotta do something about this. Dad just told me to always stand up. And he says, the middle generation don't take advantages of what my generation fought for. And she said, yeah, but this generation is close to my generation on the trauma we have. And then Kyle's character says, my father always said the best way to stop evil and corruption is to expose it. So I told that out. One day you see it, I have to say it.
Let's go on, everybody. I'm going to try to get a lady, if you don't mind. Okay, any women? All right. You got ladies, though. All right, so James. Oh, before I ask me.
I have a question. You said it was based on real life events. And that made it really emotional on top of it all, and I was curious about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of articles and a lot of things that if you dig, you'll find that what you think is just movie magic and fantasy is happening all around the country. A lot of young men, there's a black market in business of organs. A lot of young men have been found without their organs, but yet they found a kid in Atlanta. I mean, you know that story, right? In the gym. Y'all remember that show? The guy tell home to his parents to like go to sleep and shit. Okay, then you fall asleep, let's go with his organs. Like, legit it's happening. And I don't know if it's too personal, but I know it's touching for any family that didn't do that. But you can do some research and find that. And then the other part is, I lived a long life so far as a traveling man, traveled many places, and I've been chased like that before. On Staten Island, Staten Island was very tough in the 80s. If you went to a neighborhood called Rose Bank,
Yeah.
you want to get a truck full of ballers with bats, white ballers with bats. Like, get the fuck up out of here. And you gonna run from your life. So let's take in reality, life, and put it into a story that makes it cinematic. That's what artists do.
All right, man. Congratulations to the taking
If you did enjoy the film, spread the word. We want people to see it. Enjoy the spread the word. Thank you.
Yeah.